Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the McMahon Group, everyone. Good Steely Dan song, right, Rick?
Absolutely.
One of your favorite artists.
Yes.
Joining me this morning is the author of Sex, Lies, and Soybeans. Do I have your attention? Let me say it again. Sex, Lies, and Soybeans. It's a book that Scottsdale resident author Rick Goeld has written, and you are going to be appearing at the Poison Pen tomorrow night over in Scottsdale for a book signing.
Yes, at 7 o'clock.
Perfect. Welcome. Very interesting title here, Sex, Lies, and Soybeans. How'd you come up with it?
Well, the book's got a lot of sex and a lot of lies in it. It's got a lot of political deception, so on and so forth. But the underlying message in the book is about the dangers of genetically engineered foods. So soybeans linked right into it.
So very catchy title,
Thank you.
catchy title. No, and I was reading too, and we're going to get to the genetic engineered foods in just a minute here, but you compare your book to Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. Why the comparison?
Well, I like to call it Jurassic Park without the dinosaurs, but with more sex.
I know, you really like sex a lot. You write about it quite a bit.
It's the first word in the title.
Yes.
But seriously, Jurassic Park is a fast-paced, entertaining book and movie, but with underlying messages about the dangers of genetically engineered food and the problems with uncontrolled big business. Mm-hmm. And I tried to pattern my book along the same lines. It's fast-paced entertainment, mm-hmm. but it's got an underlying message about the dangers of genetically engineered foods and what lobbyists are doing to influence politicians around the world.
Okay, now why write about the genetic engineered foods? You know, with all the topics out there, and I know this seems to be a real hot button for you.
Well, there's a lot of subjects you could write about: the federal deficit, global warming, etc. For this book, I picked genetically engineered foods as the subject I wanted to talk about. Okay. Perhaps in future books I'll be writing about other subjects.
There you go. Now, as far as the engineered foods go, we're talking soy, corn, wheat, correct?
Alfalfa.
Okay. Now, when you say soy, I would think, because I love to try and eat as organic as possible. However, you say that soy is really dangerous.
Soy is actually one of the most controversial, soy as a food is one of the most controversial subjects out there. If you search the internet, you'll see all kinds of information pro and con about soy. Mm-hmm. A lot's been written about it, so soy was a natural for me to select for this book.
See, but that confuses me too, because again, trying to eat as healthy as I can, at one point I had taken my kids off of regular dairy milk, mm-hmm. and I thought, oh, well, I'm going to have them switch to soy milk or soy ice cream. But yet, because I thought I was taking away from the chemicals that were in the regular milk, but seems like there's just as many in soy? The argument about soy specifically and genetically engineered foods in general mm-hmm. is like politics and religion. You're going to find a lot of emotional arguments on both sides. Yeah. I tell people to use things in moderation. If you're going to eat soy, don't go on a diet that's 100% soy at all your meals, because you'll end up like one of the characters in the book who overdoses on soy. Mm-hmm. Things in moderation are fine, but the underlying issue is not just soy per se, but it's also all the genetic engineering that's going on with soy. We're seeing soy with 8 or more genes or traits that have been modified as part of the process to generate the seeds. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing more and more complexity in soy, in corn, in wheat, alfalfa, mm-hmm. other types of products. And pretty soon we're going to see genetically engineered salmon swimming around in our oceans, unfortunately. Yes, and I was reading about that too. Now, what is going on with that? I mean, do people really understand the difference between the wild salmon versus the farmed raised, and what's taking place to make those genetically engineered?
Well, the genetically engineered salmon are genetically engineered to grow to maturity faster. A normal salmon grows to maturity in 3 years. The genetically engineered salmon grow to maturity in 12 to 18 months. Think of it as a child growing to physical maturity in 8 or 9 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Rick, why are we doing this?
Well,
why are we doing this to our food and to ourselves?
Remember I said this is almost like a political and religious type of an argument.
Okay.
The proponents of genetic engineering say that we need genetic engineering to feed the world's population. And of course the counter argument to that is the problem is not our ability to grow food, The problem is the ability to get food to the right places and to get developing countries better at growing their own foods. We pay farmers in this country not to grow food, and lots of other countries as well.
So we pay them not to grow food?
We pay them not to grow food, to keep prices high, to keep farm prices high.
So now this is something that is not just done here in the States, but worldwide. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this is an issue in many countries around the world, and different regions treat it differently. Europe is much tougher, and the European Union is much tougher on the issue of genetically engineered foods than the United States is.
Okay, so if we stopped doing this, would we really run out of food?
I don't think so, and I think experts say we certainly would not.
Yeah.
And there's too much risk, in my mind, too much risk associated with the continued pervasiveness of genetically engineered foods as we go forward. More complexity and more types of food.
What as far as our health risks involved?
Well,
do we know the effects of this?
Yeah, well, it affects each person individually, but there have been numerous cases that you'll find if you search the web about people who've had allergies associated with either genetically engineered soy or other types of genetically engineered foods, and who knows what's coming down the pipe as we go forward with more complex foods, more complex genetic engineering.
So, and we started to really, well, produce this kind of food since when? The late 90s or so?
It's about 20, yes. These foods have been around for about 20 years.
Okay, so we went from supersizing to now the genetically engineered foods to we want it now, we want it cheap, we want it fast. And so now we have obese kids who probably have heart disease, but we still don't know, like you said, the long-term effect of all this.
We don't know the long-term effect of all this.
Okay, and then Monsanto. What is Monsanto?
Monsanto is the de facto face of the genetically engineered food industry. They're one of the largest providers of genetically engineered seeds to farmers around the world. And they end up being put forward as the face of the genetically engineered food industry.
So,
for good or bad.
For good or bad,
for
exactly.
Good or bad.
I'm going to leave you hanging on that note. I'm going to leave you hanging on that note because you need to come to Rick's signing tomorrow night at the Poison Pen, 7 o'clock, if you want to hear more about what's going on with our food. We'll be right back after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.